Very good morning to you. I hope you're enjoying your Tuesday. This is the 15th day, the year of our Lord, October. My name is Mungala Mbuvi and welcome to K24 This Morning.
I tell you, I never get used to you using that year of our Lord. I'm like, what century are we in? Are we about to see a king as we step out? Has a decree been made? Welcome to the show. Of course, this is Tuesday and this is most definitely K24 This Morning. My name is Jeff Mote. As always, even if it is indeed 2019, the year of our Lord, we shall make sure we do things proper on the show. We'll jump into the NewsPaper review as always. Dennis Tumbi, political analyst. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
We'll also be joined by Joy Mdivo later on as we look at the big stories of the day. Front page of the People Daily, really poignant story right there. Makes you just think about how fragile life is. Left alone in the world, Ethiopian plane tragedy, Kelvin Karanja at Lee Morgue yesterday, surrounded by emptiness and 5 coffins. What a story that is. We'll be looking at that and plenty more, of course, as we get into the NewsPaper review proper. But also after that, we get interactive right here on the show.
Yeah, definitely. Shiko will be taking us through some of the trending stories that have been trending for the last 24 hours. So if you know any story that has been trending on our scene, Peter, please let us know through our social media pages at K24TV. You can also SMS us on 21222. Then after that, we shall get into our social hour. And today, I want us to talk about redundancy. Are you ready just in case you get laid off? Do you see the signs of that happening? So why don't you stick around, because that is a conversation that is definitely going to be happening because the economics of this country are changing.
Absolutely. We've seen it in different companies talking about the fact that they need to reduce staff, they need to restructure. But what does that mean for the staff from that particular point? How do you pick up and move on from there? So it's a very timely discussion to have right here on the show. As always, we'd like to know how you've woken up so far. Are you still feeling the euphoria of 159? How's that going from where you stand? You can tweet us at K24TV. You can also SMS us on 21222. We look at the roads in a bit, and then from there, jump right into the dailies. Good morning.
Alrighty, good morning and welcome back. In case you're just joining us, well, you are here for the most important part as far as your roads are concerned. And I wanted to start very quickly with the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. If you look at that particular area, things are not looking that bad. I mean, it's only, what, 6:02 in the AM, so traffic is not necessarily snarled up right now. So you can see a lot of green around this area. You can see a lot of orange getting also onto green. So that means there's a little bit of traffic, but it's moving. But where you see green, that means that everything is fantastico. And that is around South Sea area, Mombasa Road. Everything is looking good. So Nyayo Stadium, nothing to complain about. If you're heading towards Langata Road as well, a little bit of orange, but yeah, green after that, meaning that everything is good on both sides of the road. Getting into the CBD, you can see Lusaka as well, looking fantastico, nothing to complain about if you're getting into Barito Road and so on and so forth. All right, Aerodrome Road, the little road that connects Langata Road to Mombasa Road as well, looking good, nothing to complain about, all green. It's a little bit dark, so please drive carefully. Getting into the CBD again. If you head on towards the same A104 road, which is Mombasa Road, now you're getting into Uhuru Highway. Things are looking green, but as you approach the roundabout from Mombasa Road getting into town, a little bit of orange, so that means a little bit of traffic. Watu wameamka mapema leo. Checking Bunyala Road, both sides of the divide. From the roundabout, Bunyala Road, heading on to Cooperative Bank. As you get into Old Mutual and Upper Hill, things are looking fantastico. And also getting into industrial area, using the same road, Bunyala, everything is looking good. All right, still on the same Uhuru Highway. Makaburini kunaka sawasawa along the stage now. Here's where it gets a little bit tricky because everyone is trying to get into town. Matatus are stopping here, so buses, of course, causing a little bit of snarl up. But yeah, things are moving on that particular road. And as you can see, getting into the CBD, nothing to complain about. As usual, the roundabouts get a bit snarled up, but things still move nonetheless. Looking at Haile Selassie Avenue, going towards Ngong Road, things are looking green. Hiyo ni kumaanisha watu wa mtaa wa Karen hamjamka ama namna gani? If you're coming from the sides of Kawangware, it's all green. So does that mean that you guys are not awake, or does that mean that you guys are driving vizuri, so no snarl-ups on that particular road, which is good news for you if you're coming from that direction. Also, checking out the library area, still green as well. Nothing to complain about actually along the entire Ngong Road. So that begs that we look at another road to see if things are different. Still heading back into the CBD. As you can see, Milimiani Law Courts, watu wanapenanga kupitia community, mkitumia KBS, things are looking good for you as well. So Ngong Road, nothing to complain about. As you can see, also Kenyatta Avenue, things are looking green. State House, watu wanaishi next to the president, also, you guys have got absolutely nothing to complain about. So let's see if we can see another road here. If you look at Kenyatta Avenue, Uhuru Highway roundabout as well, looking good. Everything at the GPO, General Post Office, green, green, green. So that means nothing to complain about. A little bit of orange though at that particular roundabout. But as you can see, these are the roads that are leading into the CBD. So that means guys are trying to get in there, trying to be careful joining the roundabout. So nothing to complain about there as well. All right, looking at another notorious road, which is around the University of Nairobi. That roundabout also looking very green at this particular morning. Sometimes, by the way, at 6 o'clock, there's usually a lot of traffic. Watu wa Kangemi, mnakujanga mkienda Marikiti. So that means you put a little bit of traffic there, but things are moving nonetheless. All right, checking also another road. This is, let's see. All right, the museum flyover roundabout, nothing to complain about. So that means we need to check another road. Watu leo ni kama hakuna shida yoyote Nairobi. All right. Yeah, I guess that's it for now. In case you see anything on the roads you think we need to know about, let us know through our various channels, as usual, at K24TV across all platforms. Take pictures as well, like Shiko likes to say. We need to see these things in case there's an incident or an accident. Of course, let us know, and we'll definitely keep the country updated. Right now, though, we head on over to Jeff Mote, who will take us through the dailies.
And a very good morning to you. Now that you know how the roads are looking, Paul will be doing a very good and thorough job of that. From Githunguri all the way to the CBD. If anything happens in between there, of course, you can let us know at K24TV. You can also SMS us on 21222. And as we say, a picture or a video would go a long way in letting people know exactly the state of the roads wherever you are. So please do that. As we get right into our newspaper review this morning, as always, we look at the front pages of each of your dailies and then jump right into it with the panel in place. We'll start off with the front page of the People Daily. Left alone in the world. Kelvin Karanja at Lee Morgue yesterday, surrounded by emptiness and 5 coffins bearing remains of his loved ones after their arrival from Addis. Also on the front page of the People Daily, state spells out tough new measures to arrest exam cheating. That's what the People Daily is leading with this morning. Move on to the Daily Nation. We'll deliver leak-proof exam, pledges Magoha. Ahead of the start of this year's KCPE and KCSE examinations, the government says it will mobilize 180,000 teachers and police helicopters to monitor the tests and curb cheating. Standard 8 and Form 4 candidates sit their final tests in 2 weeks. Also in the Daily Nation, house sleeping on the job as country chokes in debt. Situation could have been avoided if Parliament had played its oversight role effectively. President now moves to save Kenya from an economic meltdown. That's the lead story in your copy of the Daily Nation. Front page of the Standard, it's all matters politics. The curse of handshake. That's what they're leading with. State of the Nation. The deal between Uhuru and Raila numbed political tensions, but has turned into a juggernaut that is blind to shrinking economy, rising debt, unemployment, and corruption. Yesterday's critics are today's cheerleaders, turning Parliament into a Pentecostal echo chamber. Who will speak for Kenyans? That's the question the Standard asks today, and more importantly this morning. Front page of the Star, it's all about family and political dynasty intrigues. Raila family at war with Fidel widow. Daughter-in-law claims Ida's statement triggered fallout. That's what they're leading with this morning in your copy of the Star. And finally, in your copy of the Business Daily, revealed MCA's average pay crosses 0.5 million shilling mark. Control of budget raises red flag of rising perks for ward representatives. Talking about the average monthly spend on each MCA. Topping this particular list, top 5 counties: Narok, Taita, Taveta, Machakos, Nyamira, and Lamu. And the bottom 5, Wajir, Baringo, Nairobi, Mombasa, and Bungoma. The details, of course, to be found therein in your copy of the Business Daily. Lots to look at this morning. Our in tray is full, so let's start off as usual and introduce the panel. Dennis Sumbi, once again, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
And of course, from East Africa Law Center for Justice, Joy Mdivo, good morning.
Good morning, Jeff.
Let's look at the front page of the People Daily, because this one, I saw this picture, and your heart just goes out to Kelvin Karanja, because this is a person who would have thought, like any other normal flight, I will wait for my family to come home, my mother-in-law, my wife, my 3 children, just like any other travel. But this wasn't to be. And even when you talk to or read the accounts of different people who've lost their family members from this particular tragedy, they're saying, okay, it's just fine to pick up the pieces and move on, because you'll never get the closure you thought you'd get, even once the remains have been brought home. It's just not the same, Joy.
I think, first, my heart goes out to all the families who received the remains of their loved ones yesterday. Because, you know, I think we had even gotten to a place we had forgotten that this air crash happened, because it was, for us, it was so long ago.
Right.
And then when you see the remains coming back, and you know that what they're getting back is not a body, it's bits and pieces, it's difficult to handle, because you could tell from the size of the boxes that they weren't getting back much. But there is something about being able to, even if it is one shoe, you just want to be able to say goodbye. And it helps to jumpstart the healing process. For somebody like Kelvin, I would that, even this headline I think is a bit misleading, because saying he's alone in the world, fine, he's lost his immediate family, but this is such a woe-begone heading. We need to look at death not as an end, but as a door to something else. And even for Kelvin, for his family, where they are, they're rested, they're fine.
Right.
He is headed there, he's going to meet them one day. But now for us to have a more holistic view of death, as it's a transition that all of us must go through, then we're able to rally around someone like Kevin and help him to see that there is a tomorrow. With all the issues we've been hearing about mental health issues and people coping with tragedies, I think we need to come to a place where we don't dwell in the macabre part of this incident, because there is Kelvin, but there's also his father-in-law who lost his wife, his daughter, and his grandchildren. There are other relatives as well affected in this. It's for the family now to rally together and to band together and to start again from there. And as long as you have breath, every day is a fresh opportunity to make something of a tragedy. And that's, I like something that I see, especially in the West, they keep doing. They set up a memorial foundation or a fund or something to keep the memory of the deceased alive while helping you to also move on and helping others who face the same peril to go through the same tragedy. So this is a chance for the family as well as mental health experts to also help us to understand how to help families to cope with a tragedy of this magnitude.
Dennis, even as you give your take on how this story, has impacted you and what you've gotten from it, but also something that Joy has raised in the sense that having memorials or memorial funds to remember these particular people who you've lost in whatever circumstances, the families also had put an emotional plea to the government, because they were saying, look, we don't even have enough remains to bury. Some of them opted to cremate. How about we have a memorial site for these particular people?
You know, the truth of the matter is that, death is a bummer and really dampens somebody's life, because I recently lost a sister. And the grief attached to losing somebody that you'll never see for life. Again, somebody you'll never relate to and somebody you grew up with. I can imagine what Kevin is going through, having lost his entire family. The children he's birthed, a wife he's married, the hopes he had, everything that he did and worked so hard to put them together. So the initial stages of death, actually, you tend to deal with brutality, the ignorance and the exposure your family was taken through by people you trusted them to. And it's something he can't get to. So you tend to be angry and unforgiving. In fact, if you had the power, you take them out. Because even in the Bible, there were people who are called avengers. Your work was to pursue the blood or the life of the person who killed your people. So that anger is something that is so ingrained, and it's something that you perhaps won't get further to. And I like when people stand on a podium and say, you know what, I forgive you. Because that anger is what eats us for a very long time. The second phase is now the closure. And this is in closure from intense sorrow. And you can imagine somebody who's, look, the guy goes home to nothing, just sofas and a TV. And he reminisces and seeing his children sitting and playing around and the wife hugging him. He gets none of that now. So the intense sorrow is something only the Holy Spirit can get you off to. No counseling, no nothing. And I pick from something Joy said, is that you know, the truth of the matter is that we forgot. So that tells you the man is still alone. So the tragedy is that after a week or two, everybody leaves you and they go back to their lives, but you don't. You tend to draw it for a long time and a long time. So I'm imagining if I felt the way I felt for my sibling, what about a wife and a child that really went through someone's ignorance and someone who's still in denial saying, I didn't do anything wrong. So I think there's need for us to rally around this young man who is a young family. You know, the things he had put through, the education he has gone through, the kind of lifestyle that he had put them through is a tragedy and a grave loss that he may never recover. But we can only pray for him, and we can only be there for him as a family. Right. So I really empathize with him and the pain that has gone through. And it's a tragedy even not to bury their bodies. You know, it's like small monumentals here and there. I can only imagine what he's going through. But I think our opportunity is to truly pray that the Holy Spirit will get him to full recovery at the earliest possible opportunity.
Really sad story. And of course, that makes for the front page of your People Daily. As you wake up this morning, that's what you'll be waking up to there. Let's move along to page 4 of your PD. No deal signed in medical kits project, the team told. Deputy Auditor General says no agreement was signed between government and suppliers. This concerning the Managed Equipment Services Program, which as Deputy Auditor General Sami Kimugonyi was talking about, the fact that they actually did tour some of the counties, found that some of these counties didn't even have this equipment in the first place, yet money was still being paid. This story has caused quite a bit of conflict between the central government and the governors as well. The Council of Governors speaking about the fact that they were arm twisted literally to take this equipment, yet so it seems even after the arm twisting, some of them didn't even get the equipment, yet are paying. What happened here? What oversight wasn't carried out? They've asked for the suppliers of this particular equipment to be mentioned. Seems like people just profited from this and, right off to the sunset. Dennis?
You know what happens is that the procurement discrepancies, deliberate procurement discrepancies that goes around our government, and the fact that this project was actually forced down the throats of the governors and the entire mess around the health sector is really a shame. And I believe really we truly need to see the details that the audit presents, and not just that the central government must be answerable with this type of fascism. And of course, bloated costs and thereabout, something which we may never be able to pay in the near 15 years and thereabout. And the truth of the fact is that we didn't even match the equipment to the needs on the ground, is that we still don't have sonographers and a lot of people to work there. We didn't train for this type of thing. And so we really wanted to procure, and we pay them monthly. And I believe even the companies that we took this from, Philips, East Africa and others, really must be answerable to the citizens of this country, because they truly seem like they went to bed with the government and they colluded. And we need to be strong with the audits that are carried, because I feel like an audit comes and it's like an emotional upheaval. We get sad and we cry and it goes, and there's no forecast or even a backdating of matters that have never been resolved. If you look at the back end, the dead things that are called audits that are there, it's a shame to this country. And we keep on borrowing, and we keep on borrowing, and we keep on borrowing, yet we borrow to steal. So the state of the health sector in this country, the dire needs that the citizenry is going through, we can't afford to have some of these things. And I believe that the central government is answerable. And by the fact that when there's a problem, the central government seems to change the CS, yet it is executive that is guilty of this malpractice.
You've spoken about auditing on this particular issue. Joy, in order to audit, you need documentation. In order to go through what has been purchased, what is actually on the ground. We look at this particular story, they're saying that the health ministry included 24 more facilities to the 98 which were in the initial deal. However, for these 24 facilities, there are no documents to support contractual agreements, not even a catalogue was provided. So as we talk about Auditor General, you need to be more thorough in your job. There's nothing to audit. There's nothing for him to see in these 24 facilities.
In fact, this is reminiscent of what used to happen in the Moi days, in the Moi era, where we used to use typewriters with ribbons and not printers. And you would go into the PS and he has, say, put a list of, he has Joy, he has Jeff, he has Dennis, that he has hired to become new police officers or new teachers. And when the secretary receives the letter and she's told now dispatch it, she puts it back in the typewriter and she adds a few more names. She adds there Shiko, and she decides, you know what, all these guys look like they can do this job. Right. And so where he signed the letter with 3 names, by the time it's getting to the Public Service Commission, it has 5 names. And that's reminiscent of what happened here. When health was devolved, one thing that we did not do, we did not think the process through. We said health is a devolved function, and central government at the time, some clever people in the central government realized, oh no, health was a huge cash cow for us. Right. Before we let go of it completely, let's come up with something. And this is where you ended up with this, because they sourced for equipment from third parties on a leasing agreement. They had a fixed amount that they're supposed to pay per year. I think it was 95 or 97 million a year as the fees for leasing this equipment. They distributed it to the counties, and the counties were supposed to pay. If I read this story, it's not just that they included, that extra counties were included and not documented. There's even the fact that there's some people who, despite having the cap of, is it 95 million a year, there's some who are claiming up to 200 million a year. This money is being deducted from the counties, meaning at the time of remission of any disbursements to the county, this money is actually withheld, like payees withheld. Don't even make it to the counties. But the suppliers are complaining that even that little that they were supposed to get, they're not getting. So the debt keeps increasing, and eventually they're going to sue plus for interest. Right. So there is a mess in Afya House. It's massive. And I agree, the buck stops with the executive, because they're the ones who negotiate these contracts. And in this particular instance, it's not the first time that a red flag has been raised, because was there a needs assessment to find out exactly what was needed, where was it needed? Was there a needs assessment to even find out that which has been sourced, is it fit for purpose, or is it obsolete technology? Is it something that is still currently being used? Do we have enough people to operate it, manpower? Forget about even stationed to the county. How many sonographers do we have in the country? Do we have enough machines to go with the sonographers, or have we gotten to a place where you're sourcing for machines, hoping for the human resource to catch up with it? Right. This thing stinks to high heaven. But the other tragedy I don't want us to lose sight of is the fact that the Senate is looking at a 2015 audit. We're in 2019. Our audit reports are behind, as in there are scandals happening now that are going to be probed in the life of the next Parliament. We need to get serious. People, you need to catch up with and I think the delay is deliberate, because by the time you're catching up to the real deal, the money has already been lost. The facilities have already been vandalized. Whatever it is you're trying to remedy, even if there's a management letter that accompanies that audit report, who's going to implement it? The next Parliament? And that's what I think Dennis was alluding to. The guys who made the mess have maybe been shifted to other places, and somebody else is left holding the dirty diaper. We need to come to a place where, as a country, we get serious. I wish somebody would just draw a double line under these transactions and say, you know what, these audit queries will be done pole-pole, but from this year, let's be current with the audit report, such the audit report that is prepared this year is debated in the life of in next year's House, so that we start curbing and tying up these loose ends, rather than talking about history. This is a history lesson. We're looking at this at the sense that, and I want to bring you in on this, Dennis, as well, because looking at this from a point of view where she said this is something that happened 4 years ago, 3 years ago, yet we have a president who has a legacy that in which he has spoken about and detailed the things he wants to tackle. Affordable healthcare is right in there. Universal as he leaves, because 2022 he should leave office, does he think he will be able to deliver with such scandals going on in a very sensitive docket?
First of all, you actually don't just say, affordable health care, which is an absolute right enshrined in the Constitution. You actually make health care unaffordable. And, the accessibility matter in terms of Kenyans accessing health is a cost element. It's not like hospitals are far. You understand? And the fact that health tourism in this country has become so big that when you have an illness that you think is untreatable in the country, you have to start budgeting within your relatives to go to India and thereabout. And then, so the government compounds a problem by making sure that some nature of medicine is not available in the country, and then creates an opportunity to make money off it. And Senate Health Committee did this matter back in 2017. Then we were talking about 63 billion thereabout. You can imagine now, several years later, we are where we are. There are some uncompleted projects within these, like the laboratories and whatnot. They haven't been completed yet. The only thing that the Senate Health Committee has is some scanned documents that CS Kariuki showed up with. And it died a natural death. Thank God for media, because at least we're having this discussion now. But I can tell you, unless it's of public interest, the Senate won't discuss it. You know why? They'll probably pick it up as a matter of rent collection, that they can be bribed and keep quiet. But this is such a grave matter that you say that one of your pillars is affordable healthcare, but it's one of the most expensive things within your budget. So how is it affordable then? And I think they say affordable in the nature that what I pay to the hospital might not be much, but what about my tax money? How much is it? How much is this costing me? What is it value for money? Of course not. So the contractors, we need to take them to court, first of all. And we need to take the government to court. You understand? And so
you're looking at it from a point of view where we actually sue the government and sue the entities that were supplying this particular equipment?
Because what did you supply for? What is it that you're trying to resolve? What are the rules of engagement? You understand? Where are the projects so far of what we contracted you to supply? And for us also to get to know the truth at the end of the matter, we need to know what is the nature of contract that you entered to. Because some of those details are great to us, yet there's critical matters like public participation. It's such a critical sector for us, but we are blind to it. It's a gray approach. Even the Senate itself that is supposed to help us audit these things are blind to this critical matter. So I believe perhaps the judiciary, and of course the media is doing their job, will be able to put and apply light into this critical matter so that we can truly justify that the health sector is on its deathbed. Itself is it's in ICU when it's supposed to help the Kenyans.
Okay, let's take a short break at that particular point in time, because even as we say we're going to probably take these private entities to court, they're also talking about the fact that, wait, we haven't been paid as well. We don't know where this money is going because you gave the equipment, you haven't gotten the money. Some counties are paying, yet they didn't get the equipment. So there's a big disconnect right there. We'd like your feedback on this as well, as always, as you talk about the big stories. Tweet us at K24TV. You can also SMS us on 21222. We come back after the break and talk about the national examinations. Just 2 weeks off, the CS Magoha talking about the fact that we need to take away this whole premium we put on examinations, but the whole government action speaks a different language. We talk about that and plenty more after the break. This is K24 This Morning.